Hello viewers, and welcome to Exploring Cinema with Brian Meadows. I, of course, am Brian. Today's review is on the newest addition to the DCEU, Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. Now, before I start the review, most of you who've been on my channel a good long while, you know that I'm not using the same background. That's because my dad is visiting from Florida, and he's basically shacked up in the living room. So for right now, I'm going to be doing reviews in our bedroom. So, yeah. Set during the time of World War I, Wonder Woman follows Diana Prince, who is an Amazonian warrior. One day, near their island of Themyscira, American pilot Steve Trevor crash lands near the hidden island, where he is rescued by Diana. After Trevor tells Diana all about the war that's going on, she decides to accompany him in order to end the war, believing that there are more nefarious forces behind all of the fighting that's going on. Gal Gadot reprises the role of Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, who she first portrayed back in 2016 in Batman vs. Superman. While I won't be discussing the character herself, I will actually talk about Gal Gadot herself, although I will say that the actual character is very well written in this script. Like I said, I'm going to give my opinion on Gal Gadot. In BVS, I was very critical about her acting chops, especially because I had never seen her in anything before, and I could tell that she was just starting out. She wasn't a very experienced actress. But how does she compare from Batman vs. Superman to her own standalone film? Well, I know that most of you want to hear me say either she's absolutely fantastic, or maybe that she's god-awful. It has to be one extreme. Honestly, my answer's going to disappoint probably most, if not all of you. She's good. She's just good. She has definitely improved her acting since BVS, but she didn't give the performance she probably could have, or that somebody else could have given. Since her character has never experienced the outside world, I would definitely expect a fair amount of confusion and maybe even naivete, but she does give that. But when I hear her speak her lines, and specifically the facial expressions that she gives during those lines where she's supposed to be a bit more naive, she does it in a way that looks, that I can best describe as a mocking tone and a mocking face. It was as though she didn't actually believe that somebody that powerful could be that naive, so it was a little hard to believe that Wonder Woman would act like that. While I did enjoy her in this film, I actually did really enjoy her in this film, I still believed that they could have chosen a more talented actress to fill the role in the first place. However, we do have her now, and because of how she's jumped from Batman vs. Superman to this film, I do think that the next time we see her, she will actually be better. Chris Pine plays Steve Trevor, an American spy who's assigned to British intelligence, who can be seen as a sort of charming, roguish, and cynical realist who's seen the awful, brutish nature of modern society, and he's also a very worldly guy. He isn't a weak character to make Diana look stronger, as most sidekicks would be. He can truly hold his own if he needs to. He's very capable of fighting, and honestly, Pine gave one of the best performances of his career in this film, in my opinion, and he gave the best performance in the film for me, with a good mixture of seriousness and humor. He definitely has come very far as an actor in the past couple of years, especially with his role in Hell or High Water, which you guys know that I love, and this is definitely one of my more favorite roles of his. Gadot's and Pine's characters have beautiful chemistry throughout the film. They have conversations throughout, especially in the beginning, where one of them will have to explain the other things about their lives and how different their worlds are, and it's just great to watch. Like Diana would go off to explain something, and Steve would look confused and then just accept it. Like that one scene in the trailers where he asks, you know, if you were if there are no men, who are your father? And then she explains that she was brought to life by Zeus, and he just looks just with the deadest face, and he's just like, well, that's neat. Like that kind of thing. Honestly, I feel like their interactions were my favorite scenes in the entire film. There are 3 villains in this film, and I will not spoil much about them, though I did not enjoy them very much as a whole. One villain was known as Dr. Poison. I fucking hated her. She annoyed me every time she appeared on screen. She was horribly written. Some of her dialogue was really, dialogue was mediocre to okay, but it was the actress who portrayed her. I don't know the actress who portrayed her, but the way that she delivered her lines were not believable, and it felt like she was actually mocking the entire thing. I honestly wish she had taken the role more seriously. The villain that shows up after the first two was actually a lot better, and originally, because I've seen this film twice, I saw it with Mallory, and then I actually wanted to wait until my dad had seen it before I actually made a review. But the first time I didn't care for him, I felt like he was underwritten, but the second time I was actually able to appreciate that kind of villain, because he's different from the other two villains. He's the one that you have to wait a long while until they show him, reveal him and such. But mainly I liked him because just how much they were able to put through, and how they had to use exposition to get across who he was, and it was actually used very tastefully, and there was a high caliber actor portraying him. But in the end, the other two villains were a little too underwritten for my tastes. As for the story itself, those of you who know me personally, and those of you who have heard me talk about just film for a long while or before, you know that I have not been a fan of the DCEU, or DC Extended Universe as it's called, their new movie universe. I honestly think that Man of Steel is an underappreciated classic. I was very disappointed with the theatrical version of Batman vs. Superman. I felt better about the director's cut, and I hated Suicide Squad, save for the majority of characters that were in it. However, this film felt like it was a step in the right direction. It was so much more fun for me than both BVS and Suicide Squad, which Suicide Squad I could have fun with, but all the problems that I had with the movie made it less fun for me. And the reason why I enjoyed this more than those two, Wonder Woman that is, the reason why I enjoyed Wonder Woman more is because it wasn't an extremely serious film or a comedy action film that did not take itself seriously. This actually felt like a well-rounded film with amazing fight scenes and good comedy. This is a surprisingly funny movie. The best humor for me was anything between Diana and Steve, and almost anything said by Steve's assistant, Etta Candy, portrayed by Lucy Davis. And that was something that I had hoped for, and I got. The film starts on the ancient island of Themyscira, home to the Amazonian warriors and birthplace of Diane. And let me tell you, the island is the most beautiful and impressive set in the entire film. It is so naturally magnificent and colorful. Just from the get-go, I could tell that Wonder Woman was going to be a different DCEU film altogether, simply because of all the colors I saw in the opening scenes, with the green grass, the white stone in the mountains, and especially fields upon fields of goldish yellow daisies as far as the eye can see. It filled my heart with hope that there would finally be more substance in these types of films. But once Steve arrives at the island, the entire tone of the film changes immediately, and I actually felt like the transition was very well done. And it does become a darker film, but it's used more for symbolism for the war. And even when everything is done, it does actually become a bit brighter. There are 3 fight scenes in this film, with 2 being mildly showcased in the trailers. They are some of the most kick-ass fight scenes that I've seen in a while. Very well choreographed, beautifully shot, and just it's all around epic. And the fight scene hinted at in the trailer showing Diana going into battle on the front is possibly, if not definitely, the most iconic scenes in the film, and even in comic book movie history, I would say. If you met someone who asked you to just take a couple of minutes to talk about who Wonder Woman is, if you showed them that scene, they would see who Wonder Woman is on a power level as well as an emotional level. As for the visual effects, Wonder Woman actually has a great visual effects. The only problem that I had was during one of the fight scenes, Diana looked like a blatantly obvious CGI rendered Wonder Woman, and you know, it didn't take me out of the film too much since it still looked really impressive, but it's still a nitpick for me. The score for this film was made by Rupert Gregson Williams, and I was honestly surprised. I was surprised in the fact that in BVS the score was composed by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, which Hans Zimmer said he was not going to do any more DCEU films, or even superhero films, which was fine. But Diana had her own theme in BVS, composed solely by Junkie XL, or I believe. So I honestly think that he would be the composer for the Wonder Woman movie, especially since he showed he could do it solo after composing films like Mad Max Fury Road and Deadpool. Either way, Gregson Williams made a wonderful score, and even kept in that iconic theme that Junkie XL created, and honestly, having that theme in the film was the make or break for this movie. If it wasn't in it, then I probably wouldn't have enjoyed the movie as much. I needed that one little thing. That was the glory moment for me. And that's honestly because I believe it is the most iconic and epic piece of music in the DCEU so far. Before I finish up, I must point out that this film would not have been as successful or good, in my opinion, without the director Patty Jenkins. The way that she worked with the camera, how she directed the actors, and the overall atmosphere that she gave to the film. It was surprising when I learned that she had only directed one other feature film before Wonder Woman, and I love how that's happening these days. There are a lot of independent filmmakers out there who make their own movies, and most of them only do one before they get their big break. And I just want to say thank you, Miss Jenkins, for restoring my faith in what the DCEU could be. Now to recap, Wonder Woman is an awesome addition to the cinematic universe, and possibly the best one. I don't know if I prefer it over Man of Steel or not, but I would have to watch both movies a few more times before I decide. But either way, wonderful addition to this cinematic universe with a wonderfully written lead character, another really good performance by Pine, a really good supporting cast, probably the best, if not second best script in the DCEU, again behind Man of Steel, underappreciated classic and all that, wonderful landscapes, and mostly stellar visuals, but sadly it does fall flat due to poorly written and sometimes poorly acted villains. I felt that all the pros did outweigh the cons, so I will give Wonder Woman a blue lightsaber. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble. Now, I must ask you, what did you guys think of Wonder Woman? Did you love it, hate it, were you indifferent, you haven't seen it yet, whatever, etc., etc.? What were its strengths? What were its weaknesses? I want to know your thoughts. I welcome new perspectives. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more reviews and content. There's always more to come. And for other ways to support the channel, check out in the description down below. We have a Patreon channel, and you can just like me on Facebook and tell me, talk about the channel to all your friends. Thank you once again for watching, and farewell until the next video. Bye.